Hi, this is Chris Haley for The People's Recorder. This week, following an episode featuring interviews that Zora Neale Hurston recorded in 1930s Florida, we're sharing a peek at what those interviews inspired in our time. Since Hurston's work, oral history has become widely accepted as a powerful way to document personal histories and social change. It's also an important way to document how our society wrestles with the national crisis so that future generations can understand what our country and its people went through. 70 years from now, will historians use oral histories to understand recent critical moments like the COVID pandemic, the same way we look back at the WPA interviews to understand the Great Depression and other crises of the 1930s? I think so. In early 2020, two post office workers in Palm Beach sat down in a recording booth and talked about their experiences during the early days of the pandemic. Craig Bodie and Yvette Jourdain interviewed each other for StoryCorps, an oral history project inspired directly by the Federal Writers Project. Now, have a listen to part of their conversations. The full recording is at the Library of Congress with the collections at the American Folklife Center.
When you put that uniform on for the first time, you got your nice shiny shoes, you got your brand new satchel, you feel good.
Mm-hmm.
How does it feel for you to be in this pandemic?
My wife has autoimmune disease. So because of that, I fear whenever I leave the house. How do I cope? Well, of course, we wear our masks. Soon as I get home, I'm stripping, jumping in the shower, clean myself from head to toe to make sure that the day is going down the drain. Every day I wake up and just wonder, is this the day that COVID-19 is going to come home with me?
StoryCorps also recorded an interview between boyhood friends and healthcare workers Josh Belzer and Sam Dow. They talk about memories of growing up in Tampa and of what they have encountered in their careers in healthcare and treating COVID patients in their work.
Our jobs had to change seemingly overnight. There was no dress rehearsal because the numbers just started to go up and then it was showtime. And last week, I had 3 patients that died in one 12-hour shift. So it's definitely life-changingly real for me.
Yeah. The bravest of us right now is absolutely terrified.
In the course of their conversation, Belzer and Dow also recall the racial atmosphere of Tampa when they were kids in the 1980s.
Growing up, the Ku Klux Klan actually flyered the neighborhood. We all got them on our doorstep, and you were a black kid in a white neighborhood. But that morning, you knocked on my door and came up with the idea that we go around on bike and get all those flyers so that when people woke up in the morning, they didn't have to wake up to that.
We got as many as we could, yeah.
You were somebody who did think about other people's feelings.
We're both that way. I think you were always the guy that sticks up for the underdog,
The important work that StoryCorps is doing is vital to telling our national story. It can trace its roots back to the Writers Project and its efforts to preserve the voices that history usually overlooks. We would like to thank all of these Floridians and StoryCorps for sharing their stories and this legacy of the Writers Project. Find more about conducting your own life story interviews with someone you care about at www.storycorps.org. This episode of The People's Recorder was produced by Spark Media, with support from the National Endowment for the Humanities, Florida Humanities, Virginia Humanities, Wisconsin Humanities, California Humanities, and Humanities Nebraska. It features music from Pond 5. The StoryCorps interviews were recorded and produced by StoryCorps and originally aired on April 17th and May 15th, 2020 on NPR's Morning Edition. Those broadcasts were made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.